Welcome to Code Station.
Welcome back to our video series of PHP learning. In today's video, we will learn about PHP variables, their importance in programming, and how to use them effectively in PHP. So let us begin. Variables. Variables are like containers that hold information. They can store different types of data, such as numbers, text, or even entire list of information. Variables are essential in programming because they allow us to manipulate and work with data in our code. So here it is a syntax, $variable name, which is equal to value. So it can be thought of as a storage location in computer's memory, which can be accessed and manipulated throughout the program. So there are some rules of constructing a variable. So a variable should start with a $sign followed by its name. It must contain a letter or underscore, like start with a letter or underscore. It cannot start with a number. It can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. Like you can separate first name and last name with an underscore, but not with a space. And variable names are case sensitive. That is, the $age in lowercase and $age in uppercase are two different variables. Unlike other programming languages, PHP has no command for declaring a variable, like int and variable name or string and variable name. It is created the moment you first assign a value to it. We will see that in the further part of the video. But let's see how to declare and use a variable. So in PHP, declaring a variable is a simple process that involves specifying the variable's name and assigning it a value. To declare a variable in PHP, use the $sign followed by the variable name. For example, $name, which is equal to John. So $name is the variable name which stores the value John, which can be used later in the code. Once a variable is declared, you can use it in your code by simply typing its name. For example, echo $name would output John to the screen. Echo is a statement which prints and outputs the value on the screen. Variables in PHP are dynamic, meaning their values can change throughout the execution of the program. This flexibility allows programmer to store and manipulate different types of data. Scope of a variable is defined as its extent in program within which it can be accessed. So in PHP, variable scope refers to the accessibility of a variable in different parts of the code. A variable scope is determined by where it is declared within the code. For example, here you can see some are declared outside the function, some are declared inside the function. So let us see what exactly they are. So there are three types of variable scope in PHP: local, global, and static. So local variables are declared within a function or block of a code and can only be accessed within that function or block. So here you can see $num, that is declared inside a function local var, which has value 10. It is a local variable and its accessibility is only limited to this block of function. It cannot be accessed outside the function. Global variables, on the other hand, are declared outside of any function and can be accessed from anywhere in the code. So here the global variable is $num, which is declared outside the function. So it is globally available for the code till the code terminates. So it can be accessed inside the variable, inside the function, and also outside the function. And the last, static variables. They are same as the local variables but retain their value between the function calls. Like after the function is executed, the variable is wiped out because it stores value temporarily. But if you want to use that value further in the code, you can name it as a static variable and it will retain its value throughout the code. To start with, let's understand what variables are. As discussed, in programming, a variable is a container that holds a value or a data which can be accessed and manipulated throughout the program. So in PHP, variables are declared using this $symbol and followed by the variable name. Let's take a look at an example. In this example, we have declared two variables, message and count. The first variable, message, stores the string value hello world, and the second variable, count, stores the numeric value 10. So now let us output those values on browser. 10 + 1 = 10. 1 + 2 = 2. 3 + 4 = 4. 5 + 6 = 8. 9 + 10 = 21. 22 + 23 = 27. 28 + 29 = 30. 31 + 32 = 34. 35 + 36 = 38. 39 + 40 = 41. 41 + 42 = 44. 44 + 45 = 47. 47 + 48 = 49. 49 + 50 = 51. 51 + 52 = 53. 53 + 54 = 55. 55 + 56 = 57. 57 + 58 = 59. 59 + 60 = 61. 61 + 62 = 63. 63 + 64 = 65. 65 + 66 = 67. 67 + 68 = 69. 70 + 71 = 72. 72 + 73 = 74. 74 + 75 = 76. 76 + 77 = 78. 78 + 79 = 80. 80 + 81 = 82. 82 So we have declared the variables and that contains the value. Now it's time to use those variables and output the values. So for using the values as well, you use the hold as the dollar and variable name. Similarly, for outputting those values, we will type echo and dollar and the variable name, which is the syntax for using those variables which are declared. So now let's check on browser, refresh it, and here are those values which were stored in the variable displayed on the browser. We know that the variables are used to store and manipulate the values. So let us see how we can assign values to variables, use them, and then manipulate them. So in this code, we have given the variable message. The initial value was hello world. Now we will change it to PHP program and then output it again on the browser. So in this way, we have manipulated the variable and use it the second time by declaring it again. PHP supports various data types for variables including string, integers, floats, boolean, arrays and more, which we have studied in the previous video. So the type of a variable is automatically determined based on the value assigned to it. So PHP is set as a loosely typed language because in PHP a variable does not need to be declared before adding it to a value. PHP automatically converts the variable to the correct data type depending on its value. So in this code, we declared variables with different data types. Then we use the getType function to retrieve the output, the data types of these variables. So let us see the output on the browser. So here we refresh it and we get the output of the variables as in the type which the variable is. Is it a string? Is it an integer? But remember, we haven't declared it. It has automatically determined the type. So now let us look at some best practices for naming a variable. It is generally recommended to use a camel case for multi-word variable names. So here, when we need to get a input like first name or last name, rather than putting space between first and name, you can put an underscore, or the second word should begin with a capital letter. Avoid starting the variable name with a capital letter. Also use meaningful names that reflect the purpose or the content of the variable. Here, as you want to take first name as the value, then it gives an idea to someone who will later refer to the code. Also, variable names in PHP are case sensitive, meaning $name in lowercase and $name in uppercase would be treated as two different variables. Similarly, here age and age in uppercase are two different variables with two different values. So let us check that in the browser. Yes, here we have the output of the first name, age in the lowercase, age in the uppercase, which are the two different variables. In conclusion, we have learned that variables are a fundamental concept in PHP programming. They allow us to store and manipulate data, making our code more dynamic and flexible. We have covered today about declaring the variables, using them in program, and understanding their scope. We have also discussed best practices for using variables. By doing so, you can become a more skilled and confident programmer. Thank you for watching.